And this church would not exist. But you see, we often take God's faithfulness for granted. We take it for granted until we are in distress. When things are going fine, we take it for granted. I know Shalom Missionary Church has not taken that for granted, because you have come forth out of struggle. There are those who did not think you could make it to this point. Is that not true? There are people who did not think that this church could make it to this point. Let me expand on that. There are people who did not want this church to make it to this point. So there are those who did not think you would make it, and there are those who didn't want you to make it, and there are those who still don't want you to make it. They want you to fail. But what has brought you to this point? A faithful God who has brought you and equipped you and given you talents and gifts and a pastor and elders and deacons, and is still wishing to pour into you, because this is what you're going to learn is, as you're faithful to God, He will continue to be faithful to you. But if you're unfaithful, God will not be faithful. Not as much. Because even when we are faithless, you know, God still continues to be God. And sometimes we want to say, why would God bother with such a person? What a wicked somebody. Why God would just wipe them off the face of the earth? Why God must be good to them gunmen and them wicked people and murder and the person who raped and killed this child in St. Thomas last week and so on. You know, God does not treat us as we deserve. You and I would like to, in our faithfulness, like to slice things and dice things and only take care of those and support those who we like and who are nice and sweet to us. So I'm not suggesting that God does not take care of those who we would like to get rid of. But I'm saying that as you are faithful to God, God will continue to be faithful to you and to expand His work in your life, because you're proving yourself to be something that God can, someone and a church that God can rely on, and that's very important to God. So faithfulness begins with an understanding, or it's grounded in an understanding of who God is, and we don't have enough time to expand on it more. We just simply say God has been faithful. Jeremiah said, "Were it not for the goodness and compassion of the Lord, where would we be?" And that's where you get that song, "Great is your faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see." But secondly, our participation and experience of faithfulness is grounded not only in an understanding of who God is, but in an understanding of who we are. Look at the text. The text called these men servants. After a long time, the master of those servants came back. We don't like that word, you know. We don't like to be called servants. We prefer to be called masters. We prefer people to pick us up. A servant sounds too humble. A servant sounds too condescending. A servant sounds too much like somebody who serves. You get the point? And somebody who serves is not somebody that we value greatly, except when you need them to serve. But beyond that, you know, you go to a restaurant and somebody serves you, they don't get much money. You know, I always wonder about that. I always wonder about these people in colonial times who had maids and people who took care of them, you know, and they treat them like dirt. I wonder if they realize what those servants did to them. How they spit in their food and did all kind of things before they serve them. You know, here you brutalize the person, you expect them to serve you nicely. But we must understand, people, this is very, very important, that God has blessed us, that God has been faithful in building this church, in calling it into being. But God expects us to understand that we must give a particular response as a result of that. We are His servants, we are not our own. Now, I need to carry this further. Because I'm not just talking about Christian people being the servants of God. All of us human beings have been made to serve God. This is a fundamental theological issue that needs to be resolved in people's minds. When people resist God and refuse to give their lives to God, it is because they do not understand that they were made by God and for God, which is the third point I'm going to make. Probably I should just make it now. Yeah. We need to understand ourselves. We need to understand God first. He has been faithful to us. And I said all creation is rooted in God, and this church beginning and all sustenance and everything like that. But and I said secondly, we need to understand that our faithfulness is grounded in our understanding of ourselves. We are servants of God. Which brings me to my next point. As servants of God, we are made with a purpose. What is that purpose? We are made for God's glory. The Westminster Short of Catechism says this. You might not know what a catechism is. It has nothing to do with a cat. But anyway, a catechism says the end of man is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. John Piper, one of my favorite authors, says it is to enjoy, to glorify God by enjoying Him forever. He substitutes and by for and. To glorify God and enjoy Him forever, or to glorify God by enjoying Him forever. Let me therefore tell you this. The greatest display of faithfulness that you can give is not teaching Sunday school, is not being in a choir, is not being pastor, is not preaching wonderful sermons. Because if those things are not done for the glory of God, you would have been wasting your time. This is the problem with this man who did not turn over his money, his talent, so that it increased for the glory of God. He wanted to take away from God because he said, you, God, do not deserve it. Why do you think a lot of men and women and people in Grand Spain don't give their lives to God? Because they believe that they deserve to keep their lives for themselves. And their philosophy is a song that Frank Sinatra used to sing years ago. I did it my way. And so they believe that their lives belong to them and they can live it for themselves until they come to a point, which is my fourth point. There's a day of reckoning coming. I do a lot of witnessing all over the place. And I talk to the man